Today we have our special guests, David Putz and Nathan Turner from JKP Holdings. And you guys may know these folks
What's up,
because they
everybody?
are everywhere, man. You guys are all over the place.
So we'll just clarify them real quick. So Nathan and I do our podcast together. We're not both JKP Holdings, but we appreciate the shout out. And, been good.
You're JKP Holdings to me,
For
pal.
one of our companies, my goodness.
And you
It's
know
true.
what? I noticed that. I saw Nathan. I never knew this about you, but it says you have labeled Earnest Living there. I'm sorry, Earnest Investing.
Earnest Investing. Yeah, that's mine.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, man, you learn something new about folks every day.
Yeah.
So how you guys? I guess we try not to keep this scripted. We have admittedly we do send out questions and things like that, but I guess I don't know where you guys want to start. You just want to jump in. I kind of want to know, or at least have our audience discover a little bit more about you guys. So maybe a couple, maybe
Yeah.
just do some introductions here. Dave,
Yeah,
tell us a little bit
absolutely.
about
Let's do it.
yourself.
Yeah.
So I got started being a landlord in 2005. Did not enjoy that quite a bit. And 2010, I got introduced to short sales and buying notes through a large hedge fund. Started doing that full time in 2012 as my investment strategy when I left the fund. Since then, we've bought tons of non-performing notes, tons of performing notes, primarily from banks for the first 10 years. We didn't get into the seller finance sub 2 world to quite recently. And then Nate and I joined up as teammates in 2020 to start doing podcasts and webinars together to bridge the gap between note buyers and note creators and everything in between. But yeah, primarily our space has been moving away from being a landlord to a landlord kind of mentality and buying the notes that you and your crew create.
That's awesome. By the way, guys, if you haven't figured out the theme for today, this is all about note buying. All right, I failed to do that. Sometimes I just get I had a terrible night's sleep, and I just whatever complaint I can come up with, I'll whatever excuse I can come up with, I'll do that. So Nathan, what about you? Let's talk about a little bit of your background. At least cover the stuff that Dave didn't already discuss about you.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've got kind of a similar background. I did fix and flip back in 05, 06, 07, and same thing. I became a landlord for a little while. Figured out very quickly I did not like that at all. I liked the cash flow, but I didn't like anything else about it. So that I was introduced into the note world in 2008. I went to my first note conference, 2009. Started buying non-performers in 2010 and worked through hundreds of them over the years. Just recently, two big developments. We put together a fund so people can do this passively, and also took over a Diversified Mortgage Expo, which is just a place where people can come together. It's all about networking and education, no sales, just a place for everybody to get together and hopefully come together to do deals. That's kind of the ultimate goal. So Dave and I met after one of the conferences that we both attended. Do you remember what year that was, Dave?
2015, I'm going to guess. 2014, 15 somewhere in there.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And we both knew a guy that's also in this industry. And we were like, oh yeah, I know Jack. And you're like, yeah, I grew up with him. I'm like, no way. So that was kind of the connection. And then we ended up being on the same flight home.
Yes.
So we sat across the aisle, I think it was, and just chatted for a 4.5-hour flight.
Yeah, from Vegas back to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that. That's news to me. So you, by all means, the name of the fund. How do people find out about your fund? Like what? I'm not sure what kind of investors you're looking for in your fund, but by all means, you can plug away at that anytime you choose. So,
well, okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think we're doing anything illegal, right? If I just
that works.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, yeah, so it's Earnest Investing. We can take on accredited investors. It's a 506C, so we're limited by the powers that be to accredited investors. Minimum investment's 50,000. We pay out an 8% annual return. Easiest money you'll ever make.
Right on. Is this and so I know you explained a little bit, but can you maybe dive just a little bit more into what type of fund? What is the fund actually? What is the fund doing?
Surprisingly, we buy notes.
Okay, that purely. I thought maybe there's something. I know I follow a couple of folks, a couple of different folks. I got a couple of friends that have some funds, and they're getting into some crazy like. Actually, you guys might know OCG, Matt Owens with OCG.
Yep, he's actually part of our private call.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So you know what he's doing with the debt validation stuff, and yeah, very interesting. I who'd have thunk it? I'd have never thought that would be.
So just to get started here, one of the things I think we found with note investors or note creators that you guys don't know you can actually sell a note. We've gotten that question a million times. What do you mean? I can actually sell a note that I created, and it can be sold multiple times, not just one. And you can be sold all kind of different ways of doing it. You can create a first, second. You can sell partials. There's all different aspects to get your money back from your actual sub 2 wrap deal that can be possible. That to get money back in your pocket, do more deals is easily possible with connecting note buyers in our industry.
And that's our goal. We want to cash you out so that you can go do it again, sell us another note, do it again and again and again and again.
Very interesting. Yeah. So I guess maybe let's walk through. What about your latest deal? What's the latest one you're working on? Let's concentrate on that for a minute. I say one. You probably have multiple going on, but but let's just pick one and let's make it really interesting. I want something that's gonna like confuse me.
Okay, so I'll give you one that really hits home for you guys. We're working with a seller right now who has about 25 notes he's looking to sell. In the first 3 or 4, he didn't know that you need an underwriter to underwrite owner-occupied property, right? He didn't know that. He didn't actually have an RMLO signed situation. Those two facets are huge for us note buyers. Now we hear all the time, listen, the thing for performing for 3 months, 2 months, or whatever, and the answer is, well, it's good until it's not. And I think a lot of people in this world who are creating notes have been through a downturn or a foreclosure that they don't know what a defense attorney could do. They don't know what a judge can do. And the problem is, if we buy this thing, we know those kind of things could come up. And we don't want to be stuck where a situation where the judge can do anything and everything and say, wait, I'm going to untwine this whole thing and this borrower stop paying. What happened in the beginning? It's just not worth our effort. So making sure that when we're buying this thing, we get the underwriting package, that they prove the ability to repay is in there, and that they had RMLO. And that was a first step of buying a portfolio of 20 loans right now from this gentleman. First step.
So, okay. So now we're getting into legal stuff, which I absolutely love. I kind of want to know the dirt on this.
Yeah.
So essentially, what is the underlying issue? I'm assuming is that the notes weren't written. They're not well written notes, correct? I mean, like so. So in a situation like that, is that something that even though it's not well written, obviously you're going to get a discount on that package, right?
I'll let Nathan. We'll go back and forth here.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. For us, it's all about risk management. So yes, because it wasn't written properly, and there could be a couple of different issues. It could be that the language in the note itself was done improperly, or insufficient, or too much. Where there's too much in that note, and then it ends up starting to contradict itself, and that becomes an issue. So that's one issue. And then the other side of that is, like Dave mentioned, going through an RMLO. So that's a residential mortgage loan originator. And that's a Dodd-Frank thing. If you're not familiar with Dodd-Frank, oh boy, you really need to be, especially in your world. That's a big deal. So that's something that can transfer to us. So we're taking on extra risk if it hasn't been through an RMLO, if the paperwork was done wrong. Most of the time, almost always, these issues can be fixed, whether that's whoever owns the note before they want to sell it, they can fix it before they sell. That will make it more attractive and more valuable. Or you can sell at more of a discount, and then we'll go ahead and fix whatever issues are out there. Obviously, we prefer not to have to put in extra time, effort, and money into it. So if it's done properly in the first place, that's your best case scenario.
Okay,
With
so
yeah,
when you say, I'm sorry.
no, I
Um,
say in addition to that, real quick, is that the underwriting thing is something that we can't reverse. We'd
Right.
actually
Gotcha.
have to
That's going to be my question.
re-underwrite them
Hmm.
all over again, right? We can fix modification in the language sometimes, but if the borrower doesn't have the ability to repay, we can't fix that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah,
If
you
they
answered my
do, we
question.
can put them through their MLO and then have that all be okay. But if there's a situation where the borrower wasn't properly underwritten, that's a major issue.
Okay. All right. So that clears that up. So uh, one thing I've always been curious about, even, I mean, obviously there's different levels of, um, just like there are different levels of contractors or quality contractors or anything. Do you run into issues with RMLOs, potentially? I mean, I would assume that there's a playbook, right, that they use to underwrite these notes. So, do you ever run into issues? Do you ever run into issues with banks, for example? I don't know.
Yeah, good
I'm
question.
not a, I'm not I'm not a note buyer, so I'm just
Yeah,
assuming that you've
Sure.
probably got some issues with certain banks or
oddly
something like that.
enough, we don't. Banks are kind of structured to sell to the big boys, the Fannie, the
Yeah.
Freddie, so they actually
Yeah.
structure it extremely tight. So for the first 10 plus years of our us buying notes individually, we never worried about any of this stuff, right? We didn't care about this stuff because banks wrote paper particular for the highest level, where you guys can write different kind of paper that the banks can't, and that's a very very big facet for these borrowers, right? But what we're saying is, you can become a note buyer, which is we call it lazy investing, right? We look at spreadsheets all day long and write emails, right? Or you can do the hard work like you guys are doing and get on in part to an infinity return and make money on money without touching any of your own capital, which is crazy, but it could be happening. But for us buying it, we're concerned with that risk level of when you create that note or the note buyer, can I foreclose legally without any issues, right? And if it is an issue, can I fix it? If I can't fix it, I can't buy it. It's not a
Mhm.
discount to fix a borrower who makes 40 grand a year and their payment's 3 grand a month. I can't fix that.
Right.
Right. Right. Yeah. So so we talked about the last time we chatted. Uh, we talked a little bit about kind of our model is much lower level than where you guys are at. So like most of the we don't even write notes per se. We do a lot of contract for deed stuff. Um,
Mhm.
I love contract for deed just for the simple fact that I'm not giving legal title to someone. It just protects us. It keeps us more
Mhm.
protected.
Yeah.
But we have run. In fact, we've got one right now that we are. There's so much margin in this thing that I think we might actually contemplate creating a note. So I guess, do you have any recommendations for the folks out there who might be just getting into this,
Do we? Do
or
we? Do we?
yeah, just getting into it, or you know, I would imagine the first recommendation is don't underwrite your own note, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the first one. So on the other end of that, who are you recommending to
Yeah.
write your notes, or is it just any RMLO, like, or is there a class of RMLO that we need to be concerned with?
I'm going to say no. Nathan, do you have anything? I mean, we trust the professionals to do their professional job.
Yeah,
And
the RMLOs, I don't think it matters. They've received that designation from someone else, so it's not like they can just say, "I'm an RMLO," and start writing
Okay.
paper. So, whatever qualification they've gone through to get that classification, that's good.
Okay.
I'm not concerned with one or the other.
yeah,
Okay.
we